what products you've been using and what's some of your testimony.
There's 3 products that I know for a fact are helping me.
We went to that group, the Facebook group, and started looking through, typing in RLX or whatever to find out what other people are saying. That really helped us.
And I started taking this, and Mike, I keep it everywhere. I keep it in my camper. I keep it in my backpack.
But one that really helped me the most so far.
And man, I tell you what, I take those 2 after a workout, and it really just takes away those aches.
Started popping them, and what I noticed is that I have a greater sense of well-being.
And within it was probably 10 or 15 minutes, I was able to wiggle my toes.
We've had some great results with the products, not only for ourselves, but our kids.
She can do that. Now, all right, so all that on housekeeping. Let's move to the next thing here. Is we're going to talk about product today, because I think this is what's driving the company. Now, a lot of you guys, I've explained when I'm talking to people now, let's talk about the product. The analogy and the story that I use is I tell people, I say, look, if you've ever eaten an apple off of a tree, you realize that when the apple's connected to the tree, it is getting all of the phytonutrients and the nutrients and the good stuff that's coming up from the ground, going through the veins of the tree, right? This is how I explain it. When you pull that apple right off, and if you were standing there, pulled it off the tree, bit into it, you would be getting it at its peak ripeness, peak flavor. The nutrients would be more absorbable into your system. But, and I ask the person when I'm talking, I do this on 3 ways a lot. If you take that same apple, pick it and set it on your shelf in your house and eat it 7 days later, the flavor is not as robust. The nutrient value probably has diminished by a good 60%. And you understand what I'm saying. So that's how I kind of tee up how I explain the anions and the negative ions. I say, so what this company has figured out how to do is they figured out how to supercharge the plant DNA using a Tesla type technology that allows it to increase the botanical's ability to be as it was at its peak ripeness. So that's kind of this how I have explained it to people, because people don't, the first time I heard Cowrie go through it, he was explaining how lightning hit the ground and when the lightning strikes it, it goes up through, and it was pretty detailed. So I try to relate to stories that people might find a little easier to understand. Okay. So that's how I explain it. And you can go through, if you just kind of go through, you can see this, that the accumulated SA technology is, whoops, we jumped ahead there. Trying to get my cursor on here. There we go. Accumulate SA technology is basically a patented process too. And it's what they do is it says it right here. You put the energy back into the plants, extracting the DNA, and that makes the drops 100% absorbable and so on. Okay. And the product has anons or whatever they might be. Okay. So that's pretty incredible. The benefits we have, and just remember this during your conversations with people, is why this product is working so well for people and why it's easy to build a business with this is it's quick, convenient, they taste great, people having a good experience with it all around. The packaging is phenomenal. The products taste delicious, every single one of them. You'll never get a bad response from anybody that ever tastes one. Okay, that's what I really like about it. And they're easily sampled because you can cut the things apart. You can make little sample sizes and so on with them. All right. And then there's some great product videos out there right on the website. The product video is like 12 minutes long. You can watch that and so on. Okay. The last thing, and then we're going to go into some testimonies from you guys, is Cowrie did a phenomenal, for those of you who are herbal gerbils that want all the details and want to know exactly how all this works. There's a lady named Mary Esther that did a really, really good interview with Cowrie. It is in Papa Drop. All you have to do is type in DNA drops in the search. It'll find it for you. You'll be able to scroll and you'll see where it's at. It's about an hour long. It is also on it's going to direct you to his YouTube channel, which is cool because you can speed up the sound or the play speed and stuff like that. But this is a really, really detailed understanding of the power of the product. Okay. And that's why the company's probably doing 10 million in 2015, 20 million, 30, 40, 60, 80, last year, $100 million in sales. You don't sell product like that at that level unless people are having a good experience and enjoying it. Okay. So currently we have 15 products. Each one has a specific experience. Okay. You can go through, and the nice thing is the two things that we have, one of the advantages we have is we've got great tasting products, but we have a great price point for the majority of them. The top sellers, the top 8 and what are most popular are the $25 ones, wholesale, retail $50. So you can use this. These are the ones a lot of people sample. Each one does a specific thing and you can kind of see that. And then the Premier collection is 60 wholesale because there's more botanicals in them. They're a little more advanced and stuff and so on. And then you've got the Premier, which is the $80 a piece one, but they work. Okay. They absolutely work. All right. So that was as fast as I can go through housekeeping. And let me, I got to exit the stage there. We're going to pull it up. All right. So I am going to, I'm going to call on some of you guys. I have the list here that I sent some texts to some of the people. We're going to call on the first woman right here. The first testimony I have is, this is my wife, Stacy, in case you guys,
Hi, guys.
So those of you who are not, or are new, this is my wife, Stacy. She's the better half.
True.
True. You know, and,
Hi, Stacy.
Hello.
Thank you. Thank you. But, I said, hey, you know, they hear me a lot. I want to get you on
Birthday
here.
girl.
Yeah. Yeah. She just turned, can I tell them? She just turned 50 2 days ago. So
You can't avoid it. It just happens.
It happens.
And
So
you
happy
just like
birthday.
just flow right through it. So
Yeah, it was.
everyone likes to make a big deal of it, and you just want to just pass right through. So
You did good.
Okay.
You're hot. I like it. It's all good. So anyhow, so Stace, tell
Yes.
everybody, all of our friends on here,
Okay.
what products you've been using and what's some of your testimony.
Well, if you guys are like me, I have the drops everywhere, and I'm just like, I'm literally
Here we go. I got you.
I'm literally popping these things all the time, just like pop a drop. I'm like, what's this? And I'll put 2 and 3 in my mouth at a time. And I was doing that for a couple of weeks. And then I was like, wait, I want to figure out which one actually is working. I tried to isolate it. I tried to start keeping track of, because I feel great. I'm a healthy person anyway. So I started to do that. And there's 3 products that I know for a fact are helping me. I have some back issues that's been going on for a couple of years. I don't know if I did deadlifts or whatever. I never went to the doctor for it. So every time I work out, my back hurts, or I'm out in the yard, my back hurts. And so I've been taking the STP and the SLD together. Now I do notice when I take 2 STPs with an SLD, probably within 45 minutes, my pain is gone. So that's huge. Right. So if you know someone who's got any kind of pain, I highly recommend taking those 2 together. It works. It just works for me. So give it a try. They taste great too. The other thing I notice is sometimes, because I'm taking so many different supplements and trying to eat healthy, do you guys ever eat like a couple of protein bars? You have some broccoli, and then you'll have like an apple, and all of a sudden you're like, like your stomach is
all
like
that fiber.
It's like fiber's like about to destroy you from the inside out. So I do that a lot. So I thought, I'm going to just take an ice right now and see if this works. And just sometimes you just have to stop and pay attention, because if you're busy like me, you'll just forget you took these things because it tastes like a candy. And so anyway, I did that, and it definitely worked. So I just wanted to share. I actually screamed up to Mike up in the office. I said, it worked. It worked.
I'm like, what worked? What are you talking about?
So the ice is great for any kind of indigestion. You know how Tums is bad for you, and half the time it doesn't work anyway. So The ice is great just for people to have on hand when you're at restaurants. If you know someone who eats too fast all the time, ice works great.
Perfect. So, thank you for being on here. I know you've got to get to a baby shower.
Yes. Thanks, guys.
Baby shower. Say goodbye, Stace. Awesome. Okay, so here, my personal testimony, the very first product I ever tried was the ice. I swear by the ice. I typically eat too fast. A lot of times I have no problem eating spicy food, and it always works. And sometimes I noticed the day after, if I eat like yesterday, I ate a bunch of Chipotle, which is probably one of my favorite places to eat. And that's why I do business, so I can eat Chipotle when I want. If anybody wants to know what my real goals are, it's not Ferrari, it's to eat Chipotle whenever I want. So I just woofed down a big old burrito with chips and a hot sauce. And today I go work out and I'm like, oh my gosh, that hurt. Oh my gosh, that hurt. And I popped 2 ice and literally 10 minutes, same scenario. And I've done that multiple times. So you definitely want to do that. I'm starting to learn what these products are doing. Each one is doing. You're going to have your own natural, your own experiences and so on. But anyhow, you guys heard enough about me. So I'm going to let me go to Tom Hinton real quick. Tom, go ahead and let me make sure you're unmuted. Say hi.
Hi. Is it working?
Perfect. Yeah. Tell everybody just a little bit about who you are, but then tell us about one product. And then, cause I got about 8 of us on here that we're going to talk to.
Okay. Try to be brief. I would normally be joined with Marianne, but she's on a mission in Jerusalem. Our daughter and her husband, they just had identical twin daughters.
Wow.
So Marianne is there. We're thankful she's there. In fact, Israel's, because of COVID, they're not letting anybody come to the country. But we were finally successful in getting an exemption for her. So she's there on duty. Normally she'd be with me on this call. But anyway, just to get to the testimonial very, very quickly, we went to that group, the Facebook group, and started looking through, typing in RLX or whatever to find out what other people are saying. That really helped us because, again, we're fairly healthy for being as old as we are. But I had some trouble getting to sleep and mostly staying asleep. And so we read about RLX. Well, let's try that. And it did work. But I wanted to mention one other thing. We had a friend who has restless leg syndrome and just really suffered, could never rest through the night, could never, ever, just really suffering, even prescription drugs to stop working for her. And so we just sent her a text through Rapid Funnel and said, look, we've come across these products. We found this, people say this thing is helping with restless leg or whatever it is the issue might be. But in her case, restless leg, and said, if you want to try it, let us know. So we sent her some samples. She texted us back in a couple of days and said, how long does it take for this stuff to work? Which of course, that wasn't fun to hear, but Marianne wrote back, said, look, some people say it's instantaneous, others it takes a few days. And lo and behold, in a couple of days, Sharon writes us back and says, hey, how do I get more of this stuff? Because it is working for me. And of course, we're overjoyed. We love Sharon. We wanted her to be healthy and happy. So it makes it easy to approach people because you're really approaching them based on their needs, their problems. And so there's not a selfish motivation here. It's really about them. People can read if you're really in it for you and if you're in it for them. So that made us pretty happy about that. And then the people that we've noticed that we've brought into the company in just the last few weeks we've been in, they're doing the same kind of thing. They're thinking of a friend who has an issue and approaching them that way. So it's good that we have effective products for this thing.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tom. I appreciate your testimony. I'm glad you brought that up about restless leg. I'm going straight to Ben Lemmer on this one. Ben, you knew as soon as I heard it, I'm gonna talk to you. Ben, you were out in Vegas for the launch a couple weeks ago, or actually a month or so ago. Obviously you were fired up about this, but you were looking for a product. Tell everybody about your testimony.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mike. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So I live out in South Dakota. I was born with a very mild case of cerebral palsy, and what it does is I have very little manual dexterity on my left side, and it affects my left leg and my left arm. And as I was getting older, I had severe restless leg syndrome. And so I'm pretty darn healthy. I don't do any medication, anything like that. So I'm always looking for something natural to take to help with that. I do have a prescription. I can get a prescription, but to be honest with you, I've never taken it ever in my life. So I was looking around. I seen Mike was into APL Go, so I wanted to check it out. And right away, I ordered the product. I started taking the RLX, and the first day or two, you know, I didn't notice a whole lot, but then I started consistently taking it, and you know, this restless leg syndrome, if you know anything about it, it keeps you up, it keeps myself up, and it keeps my wife up night after night after night. My leg just shakes, and it just constantly shakes. And I started taking this, and Mike, I keep it everywhere. I keep it in my camper. I keep it in my backpack. I keep it at work. I keep it in my car. I keep it everywhere because this stuff, it works, and I love it. And it's I don't know how else to explain it, but it's the best product that I've ever been on in my life, and I'm gonna keep using it.
And just real quick, you're only using like one at a time, right?
Yeah. There's been a couple occasions I've used two, but typically I just use one a night. Yeah.
Got it.
The other products, you know, I keep a bunch of them in my everywhere I go, but like the SLD and the STP, once in a while, I think it's just age. I have a little lower back, you know, when I get up, you know, doing work outside or whatever, but that stuff works too. But the RLX for me is by far the best thing. I mean, it is literally a godsend to me because it'd take me an hour to 2 hours to get to sleep, and then I'd wake up and my leg's shaking and my wife's mad, and you know what I mean? It's just, yeah, it's a great product.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Ben. I appreciate the feedback, man.
You bet.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to go to Suzanne Parker. Suzanne, same scenario. You know what we're talking about here. Unmute yourself real quick. Okay, you're good.
There we go. All right.
Tell me, give us
Hi,
your testimony.
Mike. Hey, yeah. Of course, I am one of those herbal gerbils that you talked about. So I always like to look at the science behind something, and I don't do well with prescription drugs. So I've been a lot of times forced to go the more natural route, and I prefer that anyways. So even I've had, I started the same way like Stacy, where I was taking all of them, and then I did the same thing. I was like, okay, wait a minute. I want to start toning that down and focusing in on certain ones. So the ice, first of all, definitely works, and you can feel that almost immediately after eating a meal. But one that really helped me the most so far is the RLX, and I'm going to do a little. So I have had trouble sleeping for decades. And typically I can fall asleep okay, but I wake up 2-3 o'clock in the morning and I'm up for anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. And I just can't get back to sleep. So I thought, okay, I'll try the RLX. And it took about a week. And then I started noticing an improvement in my sleep patterns. And within 2 weeks, I was sleeping the entire night through. There was one night I slept 10 hours straight. And I haven't done that since I've probably been in my 20s or 30s. So I was like, okay, let's look further into this. So I did a little research, if you don't mind me sharing a little bit of it.
No, go ahead.
Okay. And first of all, I want to say I'm not making any medical claims. It's just my personal experience with it, and you have to have your own. But being the herbal gerbil that I am, and I kind of look at the science, what's interesting is that RLX contains 2 nervines and 2 adaptogens. Adaptogens are herbs that, for an example, if you've got an autoimmune disorder and you take herbs that help your immune system or build your immune system, that can make your autoimmune system or your autoimmune disorder worse. Adaptogens If if your immune system is working too hard, it will balance it, it'll tone it down. If it needs improved or build up, it will do the same. So there's only a handful of adaptogenic herbs. And the other thing about it too is that they are non-habit forming, they're safe, they're non-toxic, and rarely do they ever have what you call a contraindication. Because you have to be careful with some herbs. They can, how do I want to say, if you're taking certain prescription drugs, you can have some side effects from them. So adaptogens are not like that. And nervines support the nervous system. They act as relaxants to the body and the mind. So that really explains to me how Relax works, or RLX works. So that's a little of the science on it. I'm always tuned in to adaptogenic herbs. As soon as I find out something's adaptogenic, I'm like, sign me up, because they're a little bit of little miracle workers, in my opinion. So I'm also going to start experimenting, because there was a couple of nights where I combined RLX with the brain, BRN, and because when I do wake up, it's monkey brain. I call it monkey brain. I ruminate, and it's the to-do list and all this kind of stuff. And I noticed when I combined the two, that if I did wake up a little bit, that that was gone. It wasn't there anymore. And so I could immediately go back to sleep. So I'm kind of experimenting with that right now, the combination of that.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's some good stuff. Thank you for sharing all that.
No problem.
But that was great. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Let me go to, I'm going to go to Shawn Larkin now. Shawn, because I know you might even have to jump off of here. So Shawn, tell us who you are, where you're from, and give us your testimony.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. I is Shawn Larkin. I live in Lexington, Kentucky, and I'm married, long time, 27 years, 3 kids. They're all out of the house. Got my youngest is in Navy boot camp right now, up in the Great Lakes area. So a lot going on in our lives. But the products that I use the most, I actually replace my daily vitamin, and I'm pretty healthy as an overall rule. I use I believe it's GRW, the Grow, I guess, every morning. And then I work out. My wife gets on me about this, but I try to work out 3 or 4 times a week. And I would agree with, I think Stacy mentioned it earlier about the SLD and the STP. That was your recommendation, Mike, early on. I asked you, hey, what do you do with the workout? And man, I tell you what, I take those 2 after a workout, and I'll be 50. She beat me to it. I'll be 50 in June. And it really just takes away those aches. I mean, it's really cool. I didn't expect it. And then the other thing I take is I work at home. I've worked at home for the last 5 years in sales. And in about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon after lunch, I get this just like feeling. And I pop one of the BRNs. And man, first of all, they taste amazing. And that's the one thing about this product line. I've tried a lot of products all over the years, and it is bar none the best. I don't have any worries about somebody saying, oh, that tastes terrible. I mean, these products taste great. And the BRN really, I can tell about as quick as any of them about just the effect of it. And then the reason I actually joined this company in the first place was the RLX. Because my wife has a hard time sleeping, and all the kids moving away to the different areas of the country they're in now. We've had a pretty tough time with that, and it's really helped with her sleep. She'll pop one. I'll hear her over there. It'll be rumbling around in her mouth. I'm like, oh, she's taking her RLX. And she uses it every night. And she's the most skeptical person ever. She works in the pharmacy at UK. She's not a pharmacist, but she just is skeptical of natural products, and so she's been taking it all since we got it, So, but those are some of the things that I've noticed with it. It's a great product line. I would highly recommend it to really anybody, and I'm excited about the company.
Awesome. Thanks, Shawn. I appreciate that. That's great feedback.
Absolutely, Mike. I got to run, man.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I just remembered you told me. So thank you for sticking around for it.
No worries.
Appreciate
Thanks.
it. All right, I'm going to go to Dave Bradbury. Dave, I got you on here. I see you're going to have to show me your face. You might be in the middle of doing stuff, but where did you go? Oh, I just lost Dave. I just saw his name and we did. Okay, so we're going to kick over to, where did Pauline go? There you are, Pauline. If everybody moved around. Hey, Pauline. Now, Pauline,
Hey.
you're brand new to this thing. Like the ink is just barely dried on your application. So what's your testimony?
I guess it's been a few weeks. Well, first of all, I'm a Chinese medicine practitioner for 20 years and a Chinese herbalist. And I want to remind everyone that pharmaceuticals exist because of plant medicine. So, but what's often typical in the United States is people take 50,000 times the recommended dosage of things, which creates issues. So I also have an autoimmune I've had since I was 16, and I'm 54. So I've gotten really into nutrition and a variety of other things. And so a couple of key things that were super important for me were that, and they said it in the video, but I haven't seen it called out anywhere, is that the temperature that they use to make the drops is under 80 degrees. So that's super important because that means it's live. If you heat anything beyond a certain temperature, it's dead. So if you're overcooking your vegetables, even if you're like, I eat my vegetables, but they're dead if you like fry them up, so it's like light, very, very light heat, and 80 degrees is not very high. And so that's super key for anyone that you have that's really interested in live plant medicine, because if it's dead, it doesn't have any of those properties that makes it so important, right? It's not actually really helping and supporting you. So that's really exciting for me. And honestly, I don't care which one of the drops is working for me. I opened that box, I slapped a Post-it note on all 15 boxes with what they do, and I started popping them. And what I noticed is that I have a greater sense of well-being, which is exactly what the negative ion drops do. The negative ions. And my husband and I were not as hungry. And so that means that the nutrients are going in. So if you notice that, you may not be reaching for things that you normally were before. Even if you drink coffee now, and I love coffee, but I drink really good coffee, but I'm not going toward it as much, or certain other things. Usually when people are going for sugar, it's because they're low in energy. And so you might notice that people might gravitate more towards these drops than any other choice of things to use. And so that's really working for me. I tend to use all the ones that have to do with gut biome, glucose, sugars, anything like that. There's 4 of them. And I usually do those in the morning just because, I don't know, I think that's an intuitive hit about what's going to be the right thing for me. And then I go towards more for the energy ones a little bit later. I don't know about this whole thing about like needing to take 2. It's not like Tylenol. So I'm not necessarily on board with that. I'll have to see how I feel about that, because I think 1 is great. So, and definitely the relax at night, just blew my mind. I think that's super amazing. And we've been sleeping, I think it's been about 2 weeks. And I have a bunch of friends who have anxiety, so I'm letting them know now that, I think that you can do this during the day and not pass out while you're driving or at work. It's not gonna do anything to you, and stuff like that. And I think that this replaces any nutraceutical. We know that the vitamin industry, most people aren't digesting anything at all, and there's actually a lining of carcinogen talc inside capsules in most products. You have to be really careful and look at the fine lines, and that's not good for people. So it's like, this is like you're actually absorbing. And so I'm super excited about this. If you can't tell, I think it's really awesome. I think the widespread adoption of this is huge. so many different things. And the thing about Chinese herbs is that it takes forever to actually figure out a formula for somebody, because, if you take something that's not what you need, you can create a situation that's worse. So it takes all this time to figure it out, and then people hate the taste. So the thing is about this is that it tastes so good, and it's not spiking your sugars up and stuff like that. And I actually was in that group that Corey set up, and somebody had shown that it actually dropped their sugars. So so all those things I think are really super exciting, and so I feel great.
Awesome. That was fantastic. Thank you. That's some great. I'm learning a lot today. This is awesome. Fantastic. So I have got two more. we're going to go to Bridget McCardle. It's your time to shine. I love your testimony because you called me right afterwards. Like, you called me, I think, later on that day. So go ahead and tell us your testimony.
Yeah. So I'm 51, and I started to experience, there's a precursor to early onset arthritis last summer. So, and it travels in your body. So it started in my foot, and I was having back issues. My hands were, would come and go. I was getting to the point where I would have to soak them in really hot water with Epsom salt, and then I'll, put them in ice water right afterwards. And I try to avoid drugs as much as possible. But I do a lot of traveling. So John and I have 10 kids, and our 5 oldest are kind of spread out. And Tom, by the way, I have identical twin girls. They're 17. Enjoy. They're just so much fun, except for when they flooded the bathroom when they're 2, but that's okay. Other than that, they're great. But we did a trip, I went down to Dallas to visit 2 of my kids, and then I went to Naples, Florida. So when I went to Dallas, the only way I could do it was to be on steroids, and that always creates an issue, but I didn't know how else to do it. I was kind of feeling stuck. And then when we went to Florida, I lived on ibuprofen, like a lot of ibuprofen, which just took the edge off. So I had done network marketing before, and the last 2 companies I wasn't too happy with. I had one that was really fun. It was great. And 2 and I just thought, I'm done. And I saw Mike post something on YouTube, and I looked at it and I was like, shoot, I think I have to try this. So I called him. I'm like, don't want to do the business. I have no interest in the business at all. I just really want to try the product. So I ordered some, and I had the SLD first, and now my right foot was almost like a block of wood. I couldn't bend my toes. I couldn't bend, like, when you stand on your foot and you could do this, like I couldn't bend it at all. And within, it was probably 10 or 15 minutes, I was able to wiggle my toes. And I took a video wiggling my toes and sent it to all my kids. I'm like, look what I can do. And I think I wrote to him, or I did call you, because then like another 45 minutes later, I could actually bend my foot and walk without limping. And my back was to the point where, like, getting up from a sitting position was, it was like a 3-day event that I had to schedule, so it wasn't that bad, but I had to like really focus on getting up, like where I had to make sure I had something hard nearby that I could really brace myself to stand up. And it was later on that day, I realized I was sitting down and got up, and I was like halfway across the room, and I thought, oh my gosh, I just stood up and walked normally. And took my kids bowling, which I haven't done in a long time. And so it really was definitely life-changing for me. And that was just the SLD. And I was like, well, this was pretty good. And I've had eczema. I've struggled with eczema all my life. And I've done all the elimination diets. I avoid dairy, I avoid wheat, and, tried everything. And it was all around my eyes and on my forehead. So I thought, well, I have the BTY. Let's see what this can do. So I took before and after pictures. I posted them in the Papa Drop group. And within 36 hours, it was gone. I mean, completely gone. And I was really excited about that. And I shared that with people, that picture. And that, I mean, even just people who see me, I work at our church, at our parish. So, I'm pretty visible, and people have seen like, okay, you're moving pretty good. And wow, your skin looks good. So it becomes very easy to share. Now, since then, I added the STP with the SLD, and that definitely makes a big difference for me anyway. I notice having the 2 together. I take it first thing in the morning, and that makes a big difference for me.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Bridget. I was so excited when you had contacted me and then you got the product and then you told me your testimony. Like it was so awesome to hear, because it's just encouraging all these testimonies. I'm so happy for all you guys that are sharing all these testimonies with me because it's just powerful. It's just powerful that we're doing something good for people. Last testimony, Paul Scheidak, fire away, my friend. You got some good stuff to share with us.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good.
So yeah, we've actually had, I'm trying to figure out what's the best thing of what we've tried. Well, the interesting thing is, we've tried a lot of products over the years, just in different businesses. And I always said either I was super healthy or there was something wrong with me and nothing worked because we had results. Other people had different things and we never did. Well, the interesting thing is, we've had some great results with the products, not only for ourselves, but our kids. So a couple of them on the highlights of ones that are working. First of all, they worked immediately. They work awesome. They taste awesome. One of them that I will talk about is Alt, because I know we've talked about at the beginning on like our daughter is a type 1 diabetes. That's another quick story, but I've had over the last couple of years, I'm over 50 now, and I've noticed that I've had some allergies, some sinus things going on. I've taken it kind of regularly, like every morning, and like taking a multivitamin, and it's been working awesome. It hasn't taken care of everything, but it's a huge difference. It's definitely one I've noticed. One of them from being over 50 and working out and, sports and everything else over the years, the slide and the stop, Mike and we had talked about that. That is amazing. Working those two together for pain. I've got some arthritis in my lower back. I've had some from 2 knee surgeries. That's been amazing. It works pretty darn quickly. I love the products on that. Relax. So here's I've heard a lot of people have amazing stories. One thing that's exciting for us is we're older parents. We have 2 younger kids. So we have an 11-year-old girl who's type 1 diabetes. One of the things that we first started with, she got diagnosed 2 years ago. So at 9 years old, my wife can tell more about the story when we get her on at some point, but it's definitely helped with her blood sugar. Hasn't taken care of it, but it's obviously helped change it and lower it as needed, with the norm, the NRM. That's been a great product for the blood sugar. I think somebody had talked a little bit about that. We have an 8-year-old boy who's very busy, kind of like I was when I was a kid. And he takes the Relax. In fact, it's so cool. Like when we go to bed, they'll say, hey Dad, can I take a Relax? Or take one to school. They'll pop a drop. They suck on it. They're like, hey, my stomach hurts. He's kind of like you, Mike. That kid is done eating before we're done eating. He's just like his dad. Only I eat slow because I enjoy it. I just eat a lot. So he actually loves food and he just eats it fast. So we're just starting and he's done. He's like, oh, my stomach. And so give him an ice. And, within a half an hour later, he'll go lay on the couch and he'll feel better. So for us, not only as parents, but having kids with that you can take this, because a lot of things you're kind of concerned on other things over the years that they could take them, whether they could take too much of it, or now they know where they're at. They're in the kitchen. Here, they grab one. Here, we need this, we need that. So some of our goes are the ice, the Relax has been phenomenal. He takes one at night. My son takes one to school sometimes too. The norm, the slide and the stop. And so, and we take the Power, my wife and I, kind of like a multivitamin. That's awesome. Tastes good. That's been really cool. And I think for all of us, getting these results has been just amazing.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, Paul. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
And, the great news is a lot of you guys have, because of your own testimonies and trying the product, I've been seeing a lot of you guys enrolling people, and people are doing the same. And, we're starting to get that duplication factor going on. So it's exciting, man. That was great. So that was fantastic. I'm so glad, and thank you so much for everybody sharing that.